Hello everyone. I have a fantastic guest, Daniel Carbone, expert from Argentina. Now we will be covering the best under 23 talents of Argentina Primera Division and welcoming Director of Scouting and International Relationship from Sarmiento, Daniel Carbone. Welcome, Daniel Carbone, our Argentinian expert. So, how are you, Daniel? You all right?
Good. And you this morning, Tarkan?
And we will go through the spotlight concept of Comparisonator Football Data Journal. 3 best under 23 players and best under 23 11 in Argentinian Primera Division so far. But my first question will be, so you've been a Comparisonator user. So what do you think of the Comparisonator AI matching your eyes? What do you think the valuation in this new AI and data world with your field experience? Because coming from the field, meeting the numbers, what's your feeling about it?
The team report function, I think it's a very good function, and I think it's a function that a lot of people can use. Because what ends up happening is you can compare your team, like especially in countries like Argentina where a coach changes 3 times. You can compare the performance of the team over all the changes before and after a transfer window. So you can actually see, okay, the new players were effective this way. The new players weren't effective. The coach change was effective. We're doing this, and this well, this, and this bad. So that means that I need to look for, let's say in January, players with these types of characteristics, because we were very good in, let's say, counterattacking, but we were not good in building up the ball. So that means that even though we might have counterattacked less during a game, maybe that's something we should be doing more because it was effective, or we have very good numbers attacking or down the right flank, and then the left flank is not very good. Then that's also an indicator, hey, let's go check out what's going on that left side of the field, because it's it's sometimes the numbers show you things that are not always apparent to the eye, yeah? Because when you watch a game, you watch in general, and there's details you might miss, especially when you're watching it live and you don't watch it on a loop on film over and over and over again, if that makes sense, yeah?
Yes. All right, so let's go into the Comparisonator Football Data Journal, starting with Valentin Gomez, center back, 2003 birth in Vélez Sarsfield. So I see he's number 1 in ball recoveries, number 2 in ball recovery in their own half, pass interceptions, counter pressing, recoveries. So let's talk about your thoughts in Valentin Gomez.
My thoughts is that actually I think the Comparisonator report on him is actually very accurate. He's a player that if you see him play, you don't think he's 20 years old. He's not the age that he is. Very mature player in all sense of the word. He has a composure that you would see in someone that has been playing professional football for maybe 10 years at the highest level. River Plate wanted to pick him up, made an official offer for 10 million, didn't go through. He's a player that not only is he good in defensive duels, not only is he good in air duels, but he's also quick. And that's not something that you see from technically a bigger center back, the ability to open up the hips quickly, change direction, and not only compete in the air, but also compete in those long balls.
Fair enough.
especially with strikers. And of course, I think for most European sides, very interesting because he has a EU passport. You know, which I think makes this player all around very interesting.
And very
I think,
transferable.
yeah, very transferable because he's a player that can. Vélez Sarsfield now is number one. Since Quinteros came, Gustavo Quinteros, the coach.
What do you
Uh,
think of the value of this player?
what do I think of the value?
Yeah.
Well, the value I think is very relative because I think numbers in the Argentinian market are very inflated in terms of, to be totally honest, with what's been going on with the national team, of course, and there's a big ego factor coming into a lot of these numbers. But I think that this player is worth what River Plate wanted to pay or more because unlike a lot of Argentinian players that are young, and we've seen this with Colo Barco that's now at Sevilla that just couldn't break through. We saw it with Alejo Vélez that came to Tottenham Hotspurs and really did
So how much
nothing.
do you think this player would value in euro wise?
I think in Euro wise, because you're getting one of the few players in the, I think younger players under 23 in Argentina that not only do they have the level, but they also have the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So the decision-making process, which is something that a lot of players lack, younger players in Argentina, because it's not taught in most organizations at a youth level. So it's very few that actually have it from a young age. They build it later. I think comfortably this players can be worth 10 to 12 million, no problem.
Okay.
Now, something's only worth as much as somebody else is willing to pay for it.
Yes.
So
Now let's go to Franco Ibarra, defensive midfielder, Rosario Central. Well, ball recoveries again, he's number one. Interceptions, he's number one. Ground duels one, he's number one. Dribbles against one, he's number two. So pretty impressive results there. So what do you reckon about Franco?
no, I think Franco is a decent, very decent ball winning midfielder. I think he he would also be interesting to look into to adapt as a center back. One that gives you kind of a more dynamic ball playing, because I think in center mid, when you now reverse the action on the ball, is speed of play. If we take it into a European context, is not yet quick enough, and the ability to scan and anticipate the play and really make decisions essentially with the ball. I don't think it's there yet, my personal opinion, but of course the defensive characteristics are fantastic. So I think if you ask me, okay, what does this boy need to make a step? Either play 20 meters further back
Okay.
because he has the characteristics to play center back, and he's a young guy, so you can build him up, or you have to put him as a CDM on a team that plays with a very that plays a high block, so it forces the other team back. So there's a lot of space between your midfield line and your defensive line for him to receive in turn.
Well,
Um,
now let's talk
that makes
about
sense.
Pablo Solari, River Plate, center forward. Uh, he's number one in progressive runs. He's a ball carrying center forward. Number one in ball carrying. Touches in box 5.9 per match average, and expected goals is number two. Um, what do you think of Pablo?
Now, the thing that I don't want to be rude or anything, but I think when you have a coach like Gallardo and a team around you like River Plate, I think it's very difficult for a player that has any sort of individual talent whatsoever not have these type of figures. Because I think Gallardo's the best coach in Argentinian football. before he left for Saudi. He really built a team over about 7 seasons under his philosophy. In that organization, even after he left and Demichelis came in, that DNA still continued.
So that's the result of the DNA about Pablo Solari then.
Well, it was part of that development, but what ends up happening is this. From watching him play, I would question if you put him on a team that sits in the middle of the league or below, how well would he perform and how well, not how well, how much of his ability is being influenced by the level of the people around him. Understand? Because if you're taking a guy one-on-one and you have a guy that makes a really smart run to pull the second defender away, yeah, you have now space behind your first defender. When you're playing for River Plate, yeah, the opponent comes on the field are automatically respecting you. So they're going to give you a little bit more space. They're going to be a little bit more tentative, especially when you win that first one-on-one, the second one-on-one. Now, I don't say he's a bad player, yeah? Not at all. I think that in the Argentinian league, you really have to look at the dynamic of how they play because River Plate plays, keeps the ball very dynamic, moving forward, very efficient moving forward. When they mark off the ball, they mark zone. It's like Europe, yeah, they cut off passing lines, etc., etc.
Danny, let's move to Argentina Primera Division best 11 so far. Goalkeeper Leandro Bray, Valentin Gomez, Santiago Ramos, center backs Elias Baez and Kevin Coronel, right and left backs. Kevin Vasquez, Franco Ibarra, which we talked about, Ellen Lescano, Damian Puebla, Florian Monzon, and Pablo Solari, we just talked about.
Yeah, what can I say? It's a very interesting under-23 team for the future. I think there's a lot of quality there, I think, across the board. And the nice thing about those names is I think that most of them are very accurate. And you can also see that it talks very well about the league itself because these players are diversified over all different tiers of teams within the 28 teams in the first league, which is interesting. And also, yeah, I mean, they're young guys. They're young guys, I think, and they're all playing for the first team within the league. And they're all definitely starters. Well, Kevin Coronel maybe a little less. He's in Argentina Juniors at the moment. But Argentina Juniors also has a lot of very good youth options. So they like to rotate their players, but a lot of them are starters and a lot of them are very good talents to watch out for.
Fantastic, Danny, and it's been great to host you all the way from Argentina. Many thanks, and I hope to see you in person very soon again in Argentina.
Yeah, of course. Anytime, Tarkan.